Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
Rajni.
Welcome back. Welcome back to 1 Million Minds. I'm excited. We're excited about today's. We're always excited, but today we have a very special episode. There's a lot of interesting news, a lot of hype, and I think we are seeing the downturn in some of the hype too, and we're getting closer to what is reality and what AI can do. So that's where most of our topics are gonna be today. So I'm excited about getting started in that. But before that, how are you, Balaji? How are things with you?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, I'm equally excited to talk about some of the new things that came out in the past week, especially from Meta. Yeah, let's get on with the seamless.
Then let's get started then. All right, let's start with the Meta Seamless. So basically, it's a universal translator. Uh, Meta, isn't it's almost feels science fiction to me. It can translate up to 100 languages. Uh, Speak between two different languages. It has the potential to become a universal translator. May in the future, maybe we don't have to even consider language as a barrier. So, I mean, I'm just blown away with the little bit that I've been able to play with it, or you showed me. Apology. So I'm excited about get your take on what you thought about Meta Seamless.
Absolutely. I think when I saw the article, I was very excited because if you remember, forms of this have been around for a while in the collaboration space, right? So I think there was a company a few years ago tried to intercept your Zoom type of or Microsoft or whatever. They try to intercept these calls and try to do translation. It was not very seamless, or it was not real time. There's a lot of issues with that. I think this was attempted in a version about probably a 5 to 10 year ago type of scene. It was never that perfect. And when I'm looking at this, I think there's a new promise here with these AI models. And not only these are sounding real, right? These look like that particular accent and that particular person, which is very essence of language that is spoken, right? So it does have to sound like the person in that particular part of the world. So yeah, that's basically what's new. In a sense, like if you can see from their list, you can now go from speech to text to speech, all the mix and match, right? ASR. It's getting to be much more fun, and it's in line with what we have been talking about. How can we create content, the branded content, once and propagate in many languages, right? How can you just do
Yeah,
work
and I
once?
think that yeah, I think the little I know we're gonna show a little bit of it, but I think the little I saw, to your point, a lot of the other conversions, yes, it did convert it, but it sounded robotic. It sounded like someone foreign to the language is speaking it, and there were some aspects that were a little bit more how do you say it, realistic, and some of them wasn't. But this
Right.
particular one feels very realistic, regardless which language. We've tried 4 or 5 languages, of course. Between us, we know 99 languages. We could try all of them now. But whatever languages we knew, we tried it. I felt like it was genuine. Right? Like I couldn't tell the difference between it was a person from South India speaking it versus a French person speaking it. So I would love to, show you to show us what you learned about this too.
Yeah, let's bring this up. So this one, I just spoke a branded message for conferencing solution, right? And I wanted to see how this basically gets translated and spoken in variety of languages. Is it good enough? That's the test I ran. So hopefully you can hear this. I'm reaching out about our game-changing conferencing solution that's designed to elevate communication and collaboration for business. So that's my utterance. And it took that and came up with the first, is this accurate? And it's absolutely right. It got it 100%, right, in English. And then I picked a couple of languages to see how it transcodes that into that language. And it's amazing.
मैं अपने गेम चेंजिंग कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग समाधान के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ, जो व्यवसायों के लिए संचार और सहयोग को बढ़ाने के लिए डिजाइन किया गया है।
Right? That sounds authentic in Hindi, in spoken in India,
The
right?
giant
Uh,
got me though. That's perfect.
the giant. Right. So some words may not be very accurate or businessy, or you can probably tweak it a little bit to send the message properly, but it got most of it right.
No,
And
no, it
let's
was
review that.
it was on point. Yeah.
and Spanish.
Me estoy acercando a nuestra solución de conferencia de cambio de juego, que está diseñada para elevar la comunicación y la colaboración para las empresas.
It sounds spoken by authentic Spanish
Sounds
people.
correct.
Exactly. It gives you,
It
we don't
sounds
know.
correct.
It feels like it sounds
I can at
correct.
least, yeah, I can tell you at least from the French perspective because.
Je vous parle de
Go ahead,
notre
let me hear
solution de
that one.
conférence sur le changement de jeu, conçue pour améliorer la communication et la collaboration entre les entreprises.
There you go. That's
Oui,
French.
merci. That's about all I know. No, that sound like it as more than the just not the translation, right? The text, the voice, it sounds very authentic, but the text is also on point. So it's amazing. Just like that, what took you 10 seconds now to change not only text but also vocals of anything that you said in English. That is just,
And it's believable
blows my
in that
mind.
language. It's not robotic.
Yeah.
It's not like some other English speaking person trying to speak French. It's fun, right? So let's review one more example. So I got curious. Now I thought, what if I mix two languages, which is common, like in Spanglish or Tanglish or Hindi plus English. There's people talking
It's
mixed language.
basically two languages in one sentence. Okay.
Correct. So let's play. So I'll share this tab. So here, let's play this. मैं अब conference calling के बारे में बातचीत करना चाहता हूँ. Our game-changing conference solution is designed to elevate communication and collaboration for businesses. So the first part is Hindi, and the next part is English. Again, it's not very common people talk like this, but again, just for the experiment, right? See what happens if I mix it, because people split words between languages typically, not the entire sentences. But that's a good enough test. Now, first thing I noticed, it says it's Urdu. They are close enough languages, Hindi and Urdu, right? So that's no harm, no foul, right? That's fine. Instead of Hindi, it said Urdu, right? And the English is on point. It merged it. This is exactly what I meant in Hindi. I'd like to talk about conference calling, right? This is perfect. It merged both languages in English properly.
I'd like to talk about conference calling. Our game-changing conference solution is designed to elevate communication and collaboration for businesses.
So if your target is English, if you any mixed language to English, it's able to do a perfect job here.
That was crazy. Yeah.
Right?
So
And let's
basically,
review. Yeah, go ahead.
change your Hindi and English to one language, which was English, and with the text as well as the voice to, back
Which
it
you
up. Okay,
which you
perfect.
think, if you think about it, I think that's a major use case for, let's talk about India and China, right? China, we know that a lot of people don't even speak English, right? They want to talk in Chinese, and maybe there's bits and pieces of English, and now you can merge it into clean English. Like even in India, right? They talk mixed English and local language. Now you can combine a two-language sentence into a perfect English sentence.
So could you have a phone call this way where you talk and maybe there'll be a little bit of delay, but they hear in a different language? Possible, right?
It should be possible, because these are, again, this demo, it's capturing my sound from a microphone, but it doesn't have to be. You can feed sound from any recording, any other file. You can record it and offline feed it, or real time through phone call. I think these are all mechanisms of acquisition of audio, but I think as long as you have the audio, it seems to, again, we have to experiment with it, because phone quality is a little bit not as good as the microphone,
I was talking to
right? Microphone
Yeah.
quality is high fidelity when compared to a phone quality, which is in technical term, it's a toll quality or 64 kbps audio, which is PCM at that particular quality, right? So,
Okay.
all right. So
you
let's
have
see
Hindi
what it does for
activity.
Hindi, right?
मैं अब कॉन्फ्रेंस कॉलिंग के बारे में बातचीत करना चाहता हूँ. नूर, our game-changing conference solution is designed to elevate communication and collaboration for business.
This is interesting, right? It kept the Hindi,
That's
but the English, it sounded perfect, as if it's read by a Hindi person.
That's what I was. So it's not didn't like just translate your English and drop it down, right? It basically the new voice just for continuity spoke in Hindi and their own accent in English. So that is amazing.
But I was actually expecting it to be completely Hindi, but that was my expectation. But this is what it produced. I think the same for another
I'm
language.
assuming if there's any prompts you can do to make sure
There's
it's
another
all.
difference I wanted to note down here, right? If you look at the English, it's all in English script. So the text translation in Hindi, it did a decent job translate everything to the script. But with Telugu, it's not able to do that. It's the um, it's the cut and paste version.
Hindi
You can
part got translated.
to
Yes,
Telugu,
the English part.
and then the
Okay.
English part stayed English. It did not change the script. I wonder why. There's a bug. I don't know. It just kept the because in Hindi it's actually taking English and actually sound forms and phonemes. Maybe it fit the Hindi language, but it didn't do it for Telugu, right? But it reads the same. The audio is half Telugu for sake of completeness.
నేను ద కాన్ఫరెన్స్ కాలింగ్ గురించి సంభాషణ చేసుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నాను. అవర్ గేమ్ చేంజింగ్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ సొల్యూషన్ ఇస్ డిజైన్ టు ఎలివేట్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ అండ్ కొలాబొరేషన్ ఫర్ బిజినెసెస్.
So these are three
That is
different
cool.
results that got produced, right? Three kind of
Variations.
disparate variety, right, from the same. So that's what I wanted to share.
Yes, let's. I'm pretty sure in the future episodes we can, see if there's more testing we can do and bring the audience with some of this information. But this is mind blowing. My mind is swimming with ideas we could do for real world use cases, which is
100 languages, Rajni. We can make our episode in 100 languages. Think about it.
That would be cool. 100 more. Yes, that we should
Distribution.
test it. So let's just maybe we'll come back to it and maybe report to the audience in a couple of weeks on how that goes. All right, we need to move on to the next topic, which is Code Llama.
Code Llama.
So Code Llama is built on top of it's basically Meta unveiled this ChatGPT coding competitor. Code Llama is built on top of Llama 2. It's available in three sizes: 7 billion, 13, and 43. So, like ChatGPT, Code Llama writes and edits codes from text prompts, and so we can talk a little bit more about it. But a couple of things that jumped out to me that it can be run locally, because some maybe in layman terms, it can run on your laptop without a cloud API, and it's good for auto completion of code. It has a 100K token limit. It still works in ChatGPT in most ways, but more budget friendly. So it's a big day for open source and AI, and it's interesting. So what? And then it's definitely the open source and the 100K content limit are all awesome, and then especially being able to run locally. So those are the things that jumped out for me. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the initial reaction for me is I think these are going through the logical step from before, right? Let's show something, and then now it's becoming open source and it's being handed out to people to run it locally, to invite you to create your own version of it, which is the good part. And when it comes to code, I'm always a little skeptical, right? Now, who's going to get hold of this, and what are they? I mean, are you going to write code that writes itself and put it in my phone app, and it's going to continue to write itself and create a virus? I don't know. So now there is this consequence of handy. Is it too dangerous? Is it something that somebody's going to pick up and start doing stuff without consequence, right? It's open source and I can do whatever I want with it. At least with the OpenAI, there's a cost barrier, right? Typically, you get it with cost barrier. So at some point, it becomes so expensive that you quit playing with it, right? But this one, it remains to be seen how good it is and who's going to use it. And locally running it on your phone eventually, I don't know. Some part of it is scary.
Agree, but I think it opens up, like being able to run it locally just makes it a little bit more friendlier for organizations that want to try it, right? If you want to download a model and you for it, I think GPT OpenAI is offering that, where you can have your own private places to load your data, so it never makes it to the model, makes it to the mothership, right? So something along those lines, if you can build some walls around your data. So what
Correct.
gets
You
used
need
in
the
the model
guardrails,
stays.
right? Exactly. Yeah.
I think
And the
that's
part
the
I
one
liked
that
about this one is that it comes out of Meta, which is big on responsible AI. So part of me is calm because okay, there's someone at least paying attention to responsible AI when it comes to all of this. But the other side is now that it's open source, let's see what happens, right? So who's going to come up? Is it the dark web that's coming up with application first, or is it the actual solutions? We'll see.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. This one's near and dear to your heart, I know. So I'll kick us off, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, just from a high level, right? There's a lot of hype around AI and what it can solve and what are the cool things it can do. At the end of the day, the layer is data. If you can't get the data right, then none of the models, none of this actually makes is going to add value.
Right.
So, data management is the number one challenges for companies that want to implement AI work. This is even bigger at this point than security is what some of the surveys are saying. So, if you want, so if you kind of, if you're building a house, right, you need a foundation before you can build. So, I think a lot of companies are interested in seeing how can I make AI work for me. So I think those who are even remotely thinking about this, they have to consider some of these steps immediately so that they can have the area prep to build a house, right? So get hire people in the data governance, get consultants if you have to, but consolidate all the data in a public cloud so that you can start using it in some of the language models. Basically, a lot of cleaning of the data, and then you start training your models on the data, right? So it is a process, and as much as you and I are excited about the options, and but for it to become enterprises and companies to start using this, there is that painful process of going through cleaning up the data, organizing it so that the model can give you the best answer. Because what I'm afraid is a lot of companies want to jump headfirst. What did they say? If you put in crap data, that's the results are going to come out, and people are going to assume everything is good and act on it, and then be like, "Oh, hey, it doesn't work." So I think some of that is going to happen, and I think that's where we are in a hype cycle that people are looking at the reality. So it might not happen as fast as we want to. All these companies having to clean up the data, but at the end of the day, it might not happen as fast. But if you fast forward 5, 6 years, those companies who are taking the steps of cleaning data, loading and getting it in one place are going to have a very unfair advantage of how things are going to work. So if you have a person who's not worried about the next 2 quarters and they're looking at the next roadmap for the next 2 or 3 years, I can see some of these companies actually winning because they took the time to do it. So from a business perspective, that's what I'm thinking. But I want to get your thoughts from a technical side.
Yeah, I'm very focused on this section of the solution, right? Because I think if you look at it, if you take the industry apart, say, hey, enterprise, mid market, and small businesses, the enterprises have already started with the cloud version of something. They have data lakes. They're starting to chew on the data. That's one process that has started, but I am not quite sure whether the same thing has gone down to mid market and the small businesses. I think the small and the mid market are still suffering with this problem where acquisition, leave alone collection and formatting, right? First, you have to acquire the data, then you have to verify it is from the source, then you have to format it, then you have to keep it ready to train, right? So, acquisition itself probably is a problem. Many small businesses may not even know that data is worth something to store it. They might be transient because of some other reason. So I think there's a lot of work or opportunities in this space, primarily because AI, we are talking about how to create smaller models that are specific to your business. That also means a lot of these small mid-market companies have to figure out how to acquire this from whatever data they're already having, or to go capture them to make it useful, right? So there's definitely opportunity there, because once the big enterprises are going to, we can already see a ton of money flowing into data lakes, data governance, how to take this formatted and chew on the big, large data sets. That's already a train that has left the station. But mid and small business, I think they're still not even ready. They're starting probably.
And I think so you're absolutely correct about what you said, right? So when I was thinking about this, I know we briefly touched upon using your data to run your models, right? So at the end of the day, as the models become smaller and smaller, where you can run it on your phone or your laptop, you don't need giant GPUs to run it, and you have data that, because at the end of the biggest thing is when you have the model that's trained on the entire internet, it doesn't usually have relevant answers for your
Right.
business. So if we can train the model with smaller, but also enhance their learning by providing data from your company, and then it is small enough a size where it can easily access it. I think that's where it's headed, especially for the small SMBs. And I think once we get to that stage where, so my head is swimming with ideas there, but really from an entrepreneur perspective, if you're somebody in the data space, this is an amazing opportunity. Whether you're a
It is. It
consultant
is.
helping people, it's a warehouse, you're people helping getting the data from whatever the systems they have to the cloud, being able to clean up data, because I'm helping with the data transformation now, a big one. It's going to be like a 6 to 9 month effort, about 20 years worth of data, just transitioning that to Salesforce. So I understand how much pain is involved, but without doing that, that system that is a shiny new system we built for them would be worthless, because without having the historical data in it for making decisions and reporting and just moving forward. So it's critical, and I know it's not sexy for a lot of people unless you're in the data space, but it's essential building block for us to have a successful AI tool or implementation. So
Right.
I'm
And
excited to
Rajni,
see which companies make the right choice. Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
I like to add this, right? I think this is a golden opportunity for small mid-market businesses who are still in this early phase. It could be one of these moments where, like, I always remember this. I think India went from 2G to 4G in a single leap. It was like they don't need it. So similar type of leap can happen, because once the businesses realize, now I can acquire video, audio, text, whatever is there, and format it for AI faster, because the bigger companies move slower than the smaller companies, right? So once you realize that and you start acquiring and formatting, I think you can truly produce a unique solution for the marketplace and grow. I think it's exciting in that aspect.
Agree. Okay. Our Want to jump to the last topic. This one is interesting to me. The reason is I think I'm seeing this as just the numbers, right? I'm a numbers guy. We're just looking at the numbers. Microsoft and ChatGPT have revealed that AI demand is already shrinking, right? So that's one way to look at it. I know there's some, I don't say excuses, but there are reasons. Like there are a big cohort of people using it where kids in school and college, they were out for summer, so maybe that's why the number of
But is
volume.
it though? I have a
So,
big question here, Rajni. Is it decreasing? Because both these companies have gated their access. So, what was the expectation? Who set this expectation that it's going to be this much? And how did it drop? Because I mean, I still don't know where it is hidden. Sometimes it pops up, sometimes it doesn't. It figures out that you need AI sometimes. It's not like it's giving me a consistent way to interact. So, I don't even know who's setting the expectation and saying it dropped. To me, it's
agree.
not even
So
available
you're
100%.
absolutely right, right? So there's two counterparts to that, is because if you look at the revenue that OpenAI is getting from this, it's going up, which means their whoever's paying for premium is increasing. But the counterpoint to that is Bing's market share of search is still at 3%. So we were expecting, because they integrated ChatGPT into it, that will grow, right? So it's those are not happening. So we can both go talk about counter things, but this is again, I want to make sure we represent all perspective, right? We can't just be, hey, it's all working. So let's just look at it so that we can, give our thoughts on this, right? Consumer demand is low and appears to be shrinking is one thing. Skepticism, suspicion is pervasive, because people are like, okay, what is happening? Is this going to become sentiment? Is this giving you good information? A lot of hallucination. there are activities that are happening, but it's kind of behind the scene of the supply chain. And there are some companies who are trying to hide the fact that they're using AI, just like we used to hide the fact about genetically
Right.
modified foods. So they don't want to have those disclosures. There's a sense of shame, or what if they sue us for giving bad answers?
Right.
But
That's
again, the other side
partly,
is
yeah,
if they
one
are,
of the reasons.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one is people are thinking, oh, cheaters and criminals are taking full advantage of AI as a tool of deception, right? So the counterpoint to that is, hey, if it's working for them, something's working. So we need to figure out. It's not like it's not working, but I think usually the early adopters to everything technology, we all know what made internet fame popular, right? So there's similar to that. There are portions of the market that are early adopters, but I feel like if you kind of step back from, I just gave a bunch of counterpoints, right? If you kind of step back, I think we're reaching the peak of inflated hype and expectations around AI, just like a lot of hype cycles work. A lot of massive amounts of investments into startups coming in, pushing a variety of ideas and applications. Some of them are going to be exceptionally good, but a lot of them not going to pan out, just like it happened in other cycles, right? Because there's more money than good ideas at this point. So there's almost everything is get funded, and a lot of people are just swimming around with in money. So I think that's where we are, and I feel like this is. I don't think you can avoid it, but we at least have to uh, acknowledge this is where we are, and 90% might go to zero, but we might be getting a Google or a Amazon or a Facebook out of this for the next versions of them, right? So that's what I think. So I want to get your thoughts on where do you think we are in the cycle? Any thoughts on some of the negative? I would say negative. Some of the counterpoints to what AI is capable of.
So my personal opinion is, after both of us delving in this for months now, I think a lot of things are coming under the umbrella of AI. So my thought here
Right.
is we are going through the end of the first hype cycle. There are many more to come. The reason I say that is you can already see, once one cycle is dying out, there's a wave starting again with a whole bunch of, because the AI in itself encapsulates everything we do in our lives at this point, right? You can pretty much take
Yes.
everything and fit into that. So let's if we focus on conversational skills, language skills, and ability to reduce some time in some aspects. Yes, it's true that the hype cycle is coming to an end, and we are trying to get some productive apps out of it. But there are other hype cycles already starting, right? So it's going to continue. There's going to be wave after wave. Uh, I think this is going to last the next decade, right? I don't know when these waves end, but it's taking a break. But the next wave is going to start. It's like one wave after another. That's my personal view.
Yeah, I think that's valid, right? So the reason I'm saying that is everything gets bucketed into AI, because we've had machine learning. AI or machine learning is it's not like a brand new. It's been going around for 70 years now.
Right.
So automation, machine learning, uh, all that now just it's AI, right? So I think that there is definitely a lot of uh, broad use of the terminology is AI. So I think that's where a lot of this confusion starts. But I agree with you. They will be just like the crypto cycles as seasons. Maybe we will hit an AI winter, which will be good, right, for us to shake out all the non supportable business models and ideas that were now well vetted out. So there will be some people crying at the end of it, but I feel like this is a shakeout that needs to happen. But saying that, I want to also highlight where things are actually really working well is in the automation of human labor. So I think AI applications automating intellectual and the productivity labor inside companies that were done manually. So instead of saying we're going to replace the entire section of people, I think what's happening is a certain slivers of organizational processes are getting replaced. Whether it's I think some examples were automated bid writing for government tenders, personalized video avatar. This is interesting because you could create one video just like you did with the seamless, right? You can
Right.
create audio and imagine adding a video behind it. You have to do it once, but then I can change the name from hi Rajni to hi Balaji or hi whatever, whoever's name, but then every person gets a personalized video in their inbox. So imagine how uh, cool that would be, because that's, imagine having to make 1,000 videos. Impossible, right? But if you can
Right.
use technology like this to make it once and then send it to 1,000 people where they're gonna feel like it was made for them, I think that is those are things that we have to acknowledge as being only possible because of what's happening here, and optimizing e-commerce through AI and language generators. So this is a, if you look at e-commerce, every single product needs to have a description and SEO so that when people search for it, or whether Google or on Amazon, there's a whole army of people working on it. So think about even from making product images to all the descriptions, those are things that is currently being done by technology, AI technology. So there, as much as we kind of put a big pin spread and say it's working amazing everywhere, and then we say no, it's not working anywhere. There are absolutely pockets where automation of human labor is happening currently, and of course, it's not replacing everything, but it's almost like a human in the loop. But there are very specific use cases of automation that are coming up. So, do you agree with that? Do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts on
totally
that?
agree. I think as the hype cycle recedes, it's showing what's possible, what's not. Probably majority of that goes away, but it's showing things what's possible, and that gets incorporated. It's going to continue. Yeah, I agree. I think there's pockets of implementations already progressing. And I want to highlight one thing, right? I think one of the other
Uh-huh.
things we want to pay attention to is the Nvidia and the AMD, right? I think they wanted to get the AMD. Now it's not, they are going IPO by themselves. And why I'm saying this is I think it's it seems like majority of it is controlled by a single chipset vendor who's very efficient in doing this. A little competition there is healthy as well. So I think I'm eagerly looking forward to what happens in the AMD side, or somebody else, or Qualcomm maybe, or whoever has Amazon, maybe they produce their own chipsets. So I think the more competition enters there, I think this is going to become widespread experiment. Um, if you think about, I mean, if I'm running locally, the only option I have is now I have to get this NVIDIA card to run this locally, right? To play
Yeah,
with it,
sure.
right? So it's, yeah,
I think Google has its own TPU design too, if I remember right. So I think yes, we will need more, and I think that's also putting a kibosh on a lot of plans just because of the access, not being able
correct.
to access it. But it's gonna. So this is the interesting thing, right? We've gone through this before. So what's gonna happen is it'll take 2 to 3 years to build out these fabs and producers. I worked in at AMD for a couple of years, so I know how hard it is to start a fab and get it going. But what we're gonna do is, okay, there's so much demand, so let's build a bunch of fabs, and then we're
Right.
gonna overshoot the target and produce too much, which means the prices will go down, which will absolutely help the next cycle of
Correct.
entrepreneurs and companies coming in the next cycle. Right now, oh, cost of GPUs are so low now. Anything that was not possible, high computation now becomes possible. So I think this is a cycle that will shake out in the next decade, but no doubt we're going to overshoot it and the prices will come down. So Nvidia is going to make a lot of money in the next 3 to 5 years, but then a lot more competition and a lot more quantities incoming, which will now help the entrepreneurs as the prices go down. So
Correct.
I'm looking forward to that. I know we can talk about this topic for the next 2 hours, so I want to would like to wrap up there and then talk. We have a lot. Let's come back with the next time with some more use cases about what we talked through. And again, anybody in the audience have any questions, let us know. And we're always curious. So if there's things you're thinking about for your company, we'd love to have a call with you and talk to you through that. Just because I feel like there are absolutely some pockets of opportunities that almost any company can use. So, any
Absolutely.
thoughts about it before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, I agree with all of that, and I would say keep your brain sharp and continue working in this field and separate signal from noise. And I think we are coming to a stage where productivity is increasing in some pockets with the tools that are coming available. And watch out for our super chat feature. You guys can post a chat message. We'll take up an answer towards the end of the show. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be good to interact with the audience. Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you and have a great day. I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.